Pokemon may be utterly broken and in a shit state. Like, I'm not lying, just look at this. But the Pokemon designs themselves have at least gotten better. No, but in actuality, Game Freak has been very successful when it comes to creating these little creatures, and now that there are literally 1,000 of these dudes, albeit not all of them have returned in a singular game, but that's besides the point. As of now, we're in Gen 9, and Pokemon Legends ZA is really far away from releasing anytime soon. So if in the future you ask me why Fire Pikachu isn't here, that's why. None of these have to do with how competitively viable they are. It's just how nice they look and what my preferences are. And if you have your own lists, please feel free to write them down in the comments. Anyways, here are my top 50 favourite Pokemon of all time. Let's go! Corviknight, for a fully evolved early route Pokemon, its design goes really hard. Mixing a crow with a knight armor resulted in a really intimidating design that really does go hard. And its evolutionary line is also really nice. His Gigantamax form is basically the same as he is normally. He's really tall and imposing, and his red eyes just give him his signature edge. The Webball might be a contender for the cutest Pokemon in existence. I mean, just look at him. It's just a little dude in a little rock. I love him. Snorlax is another simple design that really is cute, although this one is a fully evolved Pokemon. He looks like a really round and chubby panda, except this one is actually a threat. I haven't played that many Pokemon games, but I remember that Snorlax was one of the endgame Pokemon in XD, and he was a literal menace against the final boss. Gible is an adorable football-shaped Pokemon, a little mischievous ball of energy with the attitude of a small puppy, yet the design of a shark. He was also a really wacky rascal in the anime, biting everything and everyone he came across. Rowlet has much of the same traits as Gible, but this guy is an absolute meme legend, and a funny looking Pokemon in general. He's just really amusing, and he seems really chill and calm all the time. I wish I was more like him. I really can't tell you why this guy is even in the list. Just think about it. He was a regular looking dung beetle, and then when he evolves, he ascends into a different dimension entirely. Abscar has such a strange concept and a ridiculous design that I just had to put it at least here. It's quite a simple concept, an Egyptian sarcophagus that has been possessed by an evil ghost. If you told me to think about a design with these requirements, I would almost certainly think of a really similar design from this one. Those hands Cofagrigus has just adds to the finishing touches this guy has. It's just a really scary dude. Ignoring his phallic looking nose, Crocodile just seems like he has a really cool attitude, which was the case in the anime. Secondly, his red and black colour scheme is really unique and nice looking. And thirdly, he's an earth crocodile, what's not to love? Speaking of sea creatures that have been put in land, Garchomp is an extremely imposing looking Pokemon, and a worthy Pokemon for Cynthia. His tail, his spikes, his blood red patches of skin, these traits are combined to create an absolute force of nature that shouldn't be messed with. Look at this lad, he looks like he's in pain. The reason why is really interesting. Back when paleontology was in its infancy, archaeologists would mix several bones from different species of dinosaurs and unknowingly create inaccurate structures. And this is a parody to that. Besides that, this guy alongside his other three brothers look really funny too. They just put a fish head on a tail and called it a day. He's in such a horrible state that even when having water as one of its types, he cannot swim. This picture alone explains Great Tusk as a Pokemon. Donphan is cool and all, but Great Tusk is where it's at. He looks like a hulking beast that can break your bones atom by atom, and his type combination is really unique. And he even had a boss fight in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Gengar is a really iconic Pokemon, and aside from Pikachu and Charizard, he gets the most amount of special treatment from Game Freak. Like, a lot. Some of it may be unfair to others, but he's been blessed with a cool design. He has a cute yet cheeky design alongside his grin and stance, but if you look at his Pokedex, oh, he's actually really deranged. Bisharp is an already fantastic looking Pokemon, but then this guy opens the front door and completely obliterates Bisharp into 1,000 pieces. His chest piece and samurai combination resulted into a crazy design, and I have never seen anyone so menacing just by sitting down. This guy is technically different to the other guy, and he's slightly better. Runerigus is just as scary, or even more than his Unovan counterpart. His design is based on the runestones engraved by Vikings to commemorate the life of notable figures. Jolteon is by far my favourite evolution, and I don't think that will change anytime soon. He is a really friendly ball of destruction and a really good doggo, unlike some others. He is even equipped with a spiky mane and electric powers, and he was elite when playing Pokemon XD. Tropius is a really curious Pokemon, a dinosaur that can fly thanks to his palm tree leaves. He also grows fruit from his neck. He is a really underappreciated guy that shouldn't be shunned as much by people. Toxicroak looks like something that could actually kill you if it wanted to. He is a biped frog with superhuman fighting abilities and knives attached to his knuckles, and then when he stabs can kill in seconds with his poison. But if you look at his face, he looks like an absolute dirt. How can you evolve a really basic and annoying Pokemon that always catches you in caves? Well, you change its colour to poison purple and give him an additional pair of wings and give him an insane speed stat and people will eat it up. This is one of the extreme few middle stage starter Pokemon that actually look good, and Quilava stands proud at the top of his oddly specific list. He's a really cute fire ferret, but the moment his flames turn off, he's very silly. I think you can catch a pattern here. Ampharos is one of the best electric type Pokemon. He looks very similar to a kangaroo, but this one has electric powers. And he's a really well designed Pokemon which you would want to hug. And in Pokemon Colosseum, he's one of the first Pokemon you can catch in the main story, and one of the few that are very good and easy to catch at the same time. Let's just get this straight. Game Freak, this is your bird that you chose to create, and he's the personification of America. He's the biggest and best bald eagle you've ever made. And you not only waste him by being obtainable extremely late in the game, he's not even the regional bird of this game. You know, the New York of Pokemon? And you replace him with this waste of energy? Alright man, no but really, he is a sick ass Pokemon. We'll do a 2-rounder here. Kyogre at 29 and Groudon at 28. The two of them are from the two sides of the same coin. One is a celestial whale-shaped legendary Pokemon with water being its whole thing, and the other one being a titanic land beast with ground and fire abilities, who both have a huge role in each respective game's stories, while at the same time being just as equally as cool. Look at this smug-ass lad, no wonder they call him the Smug Leaf. He just has a really loud personality, and he exudes, "I am better than you" vibes. Its name sucks, but everything else is very cool. He's based off of a falcon and has fire abilities and a red and yellow colour scheme. Doesn't that sound familiar? These two were made for each other! Breloom is a cuddly fighting dinosaur with a mushroom on his head, and he was also another Pokemon from XD which I used a lot, but the way he attacks is by unleashing his long arms and can throw spores out at his enemies. Tyrantrum. And he's an awesome one at that. He is clearly inspired by the animatronics used in Jurassic Park, and he's a really menacing dinosaur. And according to some of his Pokedexes, he has the presence of a magnificent king, and his powerful jaws were capable of shredding thick metal plates as easily as paper, which made it invincible. I don't know about that last bit, but that seems like the description of a really fantastic Pokemon. Sinnoh cooked with its starter Pokemon, and in fact another one will show up later. Torterra's design was based on the world turtle within Native American myth and legend, but even without this interesting origin, he has an incredible design. He holds a very tiny biome on his back and looks awesome while doing so. And have you seen what they did to him in Detective Pikachu? That is incredibly impressive. He may look like a 5-year-old's drawing. He may be hated by people due to it being quote-unquote overrated, but he is the best boy and shall not be insulted to. Quag is life, Quag is love, and most importantly, he quagging. Mew is the most famous mythical Pokemon and a personal favourite of mine. When located, he seems like a whimsical creature that roams around without a care in the world, floating and curling into a ball. And the story behind his and Mewtwo's creation is somewhat interesting. Blaziken is an extremely iconic starter. He was the OG firefighter and isn't the only one that's going to appear soon. He's a fighting chicken which specialises in martial arts and has pyrokinetic powers. He has a red and orange colour scheme to show how menacing he is. His Mega Evolution is slightly worse, but his fire abilities are definitely better demonstrated than in his regular form. Whilst not being the most famous flying orange dragon, he is the best. He combines cuteness and coolness perfectly. This pseudo-legendary Pokemon has a big figure and a wild attitude in the anime. He can fly at the speed of sound, and if annoyed can go into a destructive rampage that cannot be stopped. Luxray is a blue, yellow and black line with electric powers, and he and his evolutionary line look really nice. He has X-ray vision and one of the cleanest looking shinies out of any Pokemon ever. Infernape is another top tier fighter, but Infernape has an interesting origin based on the character Son Wukong, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, from Journey to the West, which is clear just by comparing both of them. He's got this sacred warrior aesthetic, and it's really eye-catching. And he has a fire growing out of his head. One of the most badass looking Pokemon probably ever made. Talk about a glow up from this to this. Gyarados is one scary fish. He's based on a story about a car that when ascending the waterfall and crossing the dragon gate would become a dragon. And although technically he's not a dragon Pokemon, he definitely looks like one. He's a creature that will destroy its surroundings, and his Mega Evolution brings these strengths and multiply them tenfold. Flygon is an insectoid-like dragon with earth powers, which I do adore, but my favourite thing about him is that he was another standout Pokemon in Colosseum due to his crazy moveset, which included Earthquake, which destroyed everything. How the hell is this guy this high up? I don't know. Don't question me, okay? He is the chillest Pokemon, always lounging about, or just being the cutest thing. Would I have put him here if we were talking objectively? Of course! Why would I question this lad's integrity? Venusaur is a frog-like dinosaur mix with a jungle flower on his head, and is one of the 3 fully evolved Kanto starters, which all of them were eligible to be on this spot. This guy can unleash tons of poison and throw sharp leaves at its opponents, and is one pocket monster alright. Necrozma has multiple forms and is one of the hardest Pokemon to fight and catch, but I'll talk about his regular form. It's got a mesmerising angular design with huge hands. He seems almost humanoid and is built off what seems like dark crystals. He canonically is one of the most powerful things in the Pokemon universe. Tapu Koko is another badass design based off Hawaiian folklore and is one of the few Pokemon with an actual role in the story without being the Pokemon in the front cover. He also has the shape of a rooster, and that mohawk is fire. He's got both electric powers and fairy powers, easily the best Tapu out of the 4. Salamence brings in a story of dreams and determination. He started out as a weak, small Bagon whom dreamt of being able to fly and never gave up, and after rehatching from its prison became a monumental flying dragon salamander combination, as well as becoming a pseudo-legendary, and alongside Snorlax, he decimated Pokemon XD's final boss. This guy. Marshadow has got to be one of the best blends between absolutely intimidating and very adorable. He's a cute ghost that has a ton of experience in fighting. He's round and soft with smoke skin, and when he activates God mode, he dons a green hat and flames, though I wish he was more accessible for usage, as he's been mostly used only in special events and distributed through them, rather than being collectible in the game itself. Rayquaza, or Rayquaza, is a legendary flying beast that controls the skies of the planet. His design is absolutely fantastic, and the use of colours in him is total perfection. His claws, lines and fins are used in ways that portray this ungodly beast as the king of the skies, and that's not even his final form, as his Mega Evolution increases his strength 100 times more. And fun fact, he was the most broken Pokemon to ever exist in the games, well, at least Pokemon that were usable without hacking, as he could hold any item it wanted and had cataclysmically high stats and had the highest attack stat out of any usable Pokemon in the history of the franchise. Both of these are really similar, so I'll just talk about them back to back. Armrouge is a very stylized humanoid Pokemon who wears an entire knight armor. He's primarily black with red undertones on his extremities, but when he combines his armor, he creates a makeshift cannon on his arms, and he's on fire. And Cerulege is a ghost knight with blades for hands. He's got blue skin, slightly skinnier armor, shoes that are huge, and he's also on fire. Both of these guys were probably drawn to be the fanciest Pokemon in existence, and they might be the fanciest Pokemon in existence. This is a literal war tank with psychic powers and legs. Enough said. Lycanroc is a canine Pokemon resembling a wolf and has 3 possible forms: midday form, midnight form, and dusk form. According to the Pokemon lore, the first 2 forms are influenced by Solgaleo and Lunala when bathed in solar or lunar energy. Don't ask me what that means though, but his midday form was definitely the best in my opinion. He looks like such a good doggo. Look, I had to put some dogs here, not only because they're the better option out of the 2, but if I don't put some dogs in the top spots, this guy will probably enter my room and break all the cushions.
¿Quieres? ¿Quieres un poco? Vale. A la 1, a las 2, a las 3. Good boy.
Anyways, he's got fire as a singular type, and he's got a physique of a canine warrior. But if we turn back time, we get his Hisuian form, where his ancient Chinese folklore inspiration becomes a lot more apparent and is way more noticeable. But I still prefer the OG. An aggressive Pokemon with scythes on his mouth, and a colour scheme of dark green and yellows, akin to a camouflage combat uniform. What can beat it? Solgaleo is cool. Anyways, that's about it. Goodbye.